Good morning, everyone. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Akshay Pillai, who has secured AIR 51 in Civil Services 2021. His optional was mechanical engineering, and he has done his undergraduation from NIT Raipur in BTech Mechanical. So, a very warm welcome, Akshay.
Thank you, Shashwat. Thank you for having me.
So, let us start with question answers, Akshay. So, what are the pros and cons of taking mechanical engineering as an optional, according to you?
According to me, the advantage of mechanical engineering is that it is a scoring optional, it is very objective, and it also provides a break from the monotony of general studies papers. However, there are some cons. For example, the syllabus is vast, and there is a risk in the numerical questions of marks being deducted if just the last step is wrong. Another risk is that mechanical optional has no overlap with GS, so more effort will be required if a candidate chooses this optional.
Okay. So, second question is regarding the attempting strategy in paper. What do you prefer, theory or numerical in papers?
I prefer theory because I feel that in theory it is not an all or nothing gamble. Moreover, in theory one can write an answer in limited time also, but it is difficult to solve a numerical if there is time constraint. For example, steam engineering numerical is difficult to solve in limited time.
So, according to you, what should be the strategy for attempting a 10 mark or 15 mark theory question? Should we write in paragraph format, point format, and if point format, how many points are required according to you?
I always write in points, so I feel points are better because examiner can extract the information easily from points. And as to how many points, I think for a 10 marker at least 6 or 7 relevant points are needed, for 15 marker even more. But one should not make up points in an effort to write more. One should write as much as one knows, subject to the minimum limit of 6 to 7 points for a 10 marker.
Okay. So, next question being how to balance mechanical with GS, and what was your plan after prelims? What was your timetable accordingly, and which areas should we focus more after prelims in mechanical engineering?
I think it's necessary to give slightly more time to GS because it has more weightage, and general studies preparation also helps in essay and interview. At the same time, there is a need to take care of the optional. So my strategy for balancing this was that I would give 5 hours per day to GS, 4 hours per day to mechanical. In mechanical, I focus more on previous year questions because the syllabus is vast and there's a need to complete a certain good portion of it. And another part of this strategy for the subjects that needs to be prioritized. In paper 1, I think industrial engineering, strength of materials, theory of machines are more scoring. In paper 2, thermodynamics, RAC are the scoring parts which candidates should focus on.
Okay. So, next is daily practice versus one time. What was your strategy with respect to mechanical engineering? Should the candidates go for one time, means after GS or before GS, or should they study mechanical engineering daily according to you?
According to me, candidates should study it every day because it becomes easier to cover the syllabus with regular practice. To stay in touch with mechanical optional, it's important to practice every day and gain more confidence. So in the schedule, there should be space for daily mechanical studies.
So regarding previous year questions, so did you मतलब कि क्या आप अपने आप को सिर्फ CSE तक confine रखते थे? Did you confine yourself only for CSE, or did you also solve EAC and IFOS previous year questions also? And do you analyze previous year questions and see that do you predict the topic which will come in examination? Did you did that?
I was confined to I confined myself to CSE previous year questions. I have not solved EAC or IFOS. When it comes to analysis of PYQs, I think it's necessary to see which areas they are coming from, gain conceptual clarity, and as far as prediction is concerned, I was not able to do it as much, but I think it's possible if one thinks one step ahead. Like in manufacturing engineering, in metrology, this year there was a new question which was one step ahead of the regular. So if candidates are able to think one step ahead and look for those kind of questions in other papers or in other books, for example, then they can predict, I think.
So there are at times some questions which are say lengthy, but the pages given are 2 or 1. Sometimes for a 15 mark question they give 2 pages, but it is lengthy. So what was your strategy in that? How did you approach that question?
I tried to solve that question first on the rough sheet page so that there would be no mistakes, and then I tried to transfer it to the main answer sheet. But I have only faced this problem once or twice, not too many times. So as far as I am aware, space is generally enough.
So do you define every term in numerical, like pressure at inlet is P1, and use standard notation, just P1 equals to this, draw a diagram and use standard notation, or do you define everything in exam?
I drew a diagram, use standard notation. Maybe I think I may have written that one is inlet, two is outlet, but I have not defined each term separately.
Okay. So is it necessary to draw illustrations in numerical? What was your strategy? Even if it was not asked, do you prefer to draw illustrations or what?
I prefer to draw because sometimes what happens is that the question may be worth 15 marks, but the solution is very short. So there I think it's necessary to draw illustration and add some value. Providing time permits, I think everyone should draw.
Okay. So next question is how to approach optional, especially for the students who are in college, who are newbies. So what should be their strategy?
Those who are in college should analyze syllabus and previous year questions, particularly weightage of different topics within a particular subject. Accordingly, they should align their preparation with their college studies so that as college proceeds, they are gaining command over different subjects in mechanical. So this part, I would also say that conceptual clarity is very important because those who are in college are learning these subjects for the first time. If they get conceptual clarity and practice enough, then they'll be in a very good position once they graduate and are ready to appear for exam.
So is test series or any kind of मतलब कि material of test recommended by you, or मतलब are standard books enough? What is your thoughts on that?
Initially I thought standard books were enough. Later I thought test series would help more in practice and maybe those new questions which come in the exam and which are difficult to attempt if one has not studied. So ultimately I would say that the base with standard books has to be ready. If possible, one should take a test series. If not, then one should practice at home, a mock test at home every week so that one has that advantage and can manage time in the paper.
Okay. So at times it has been seen that some data is missing at times in question, and candidate only figure that out when they start attempting it, because you cannot read the whole question in examination. So when you pick that question, then you find out that in part B this data is missing. So if that happens, what one should do in that?
Then one should be ready to assess whether one can attempt another question instead of this. So all round solid preparation is needed so that one can attempt max questions. And yes, one should be very careful in those areas where earlier data has been missing, like steam engineering questions, I think maybe even RSC questions, sometimes data has not been given. So maybe candidates can give a little time to reading that question thoroughly if they are planning to attempt.
Okay. So next is you have scored very good marks in paper 2. I means it is all India highest this year, 150 plus. So what did you did in paper 2, and which areas did you focus more? What was your strategy broadly?
In paper 2, I focused mainly on some subjects like RAC, HMT, steam engineering and thermodynamics. I also did compressible flow, which helped me. And in the paper itself, certainly it was an unconventional paper. There were many new topics. So I decided to select the questions very carefully where I could get maximum marks. I attempted what I knew well. What I did not know also, I tried to write as logically as I could based on the experience and knowledge I had. So I think in unconventional papers like this year's paper 2, what is important is attempting fully, trying fully, and doing what one knows well. That will help.
So what was your attempted total? How much did you attempt in paper, and what was according to you that you did correct, and how much did you get? All three, if you know them.
I do not remember. I'm sorry.
Okay, you do not remember, no issues. Then next is do detailed calculation carry mark, or according to you one should just apply formula, put the values and get the final result?
According to me, it's better to do detailed calculations and show. I feel that is quite important. So people should do that.
Okay. So did you also show substitution, that you're substituting values clearly, or that was implied?
I showed the substitutions clearly in the numericals I solved.
Okay, and according to you, what should be the strategy for derivations and formulas? How much should one go in depth with them, and how should one prepare them?
When it comes to derivation and formula, one should always have the previous year questions at hand and see what is being asked in the past. Those have to be done for sure. And similarly, what are the similar derivations which could be asked in the future? So it's necessary to prepare them. I think like this year there's a forging derivation in paper 1. So preparation for this is helpful, and derivation has that advantage, one knows the final result. So I would advise candidates to prepare those.
Means important thing is how much depth according to you, matlab, what depth should one go, because there are too many derivations.
The derivations which are related, closely linked to what has already been asked in the past,
Okay.
that will be important according to me. Like if I give an example, there was this forging derivation which was asked this time was for plane slab. I think there was a question, old question in 2007 on forging for circular disc derivation. So based on that, I think one should try to attempt derivations. Too many derivations are not required, but staying one step ahead will also be helpful.
Okay. So any other tips for the candidates who are appearing or who will be appearing? So according to what some mistakes that they can avoid from your learning or anything, any tips or shortcuts?
I think it's important to prepare subjects with conceptual clarity, because that helps in answering questions even if the question is framed in a different manner. I also say that revision is also very important, particularly in a subject like mechanical, which is vast. And I would advise candidates to give importance to all the subjects within mechanical engineering, not being reliant on any few subjects. So well-rounded preparation helps even when the paper is difficult. Regular practice is also a must, so a mock test every week will be quite helpful in good time management and completing the paper in the exam hall.
So what, according to you, what you did differently means in this attempt, or matlab ki, vis-a-vis when you started preparation in your first, second attempt? So anything that you did differently in mechanical GS that you want to share something?
In mechanical, I will say that this time I focused on conceptual clarity. And another thing was that practice. There was daily practice of one mechanical question and weekly practice of one test. So that helps really when it comes to memorizing, when it comes to time management in the exam hall. And in GS, I would like to say again, it's very important to analyze syllabus and previous year questions to write relevant answers. This time I focused on addressing the demand of the question, which I was not doing in the second and third attempt. In GS, again, another thing is completing the paper, very important. Otherwise, one straight away loses marks. So I would advise everyone to practice enough so that they can attempt the entire 250 marks paper within time limit.
Okay. So thank you very much, Akshay. We wish him all the best for his future endeavors, and a very thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Shashwat, for this opportunity.